Good evening. Hope you're having a great week. It is Thursday, June 12th, 7:55 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, local time here in Ellensburg, Washington. I think it's Ellensburg. I'm in central Washington off of I-90. I'm not sure how far east of Seattle I am. I would guess somewhere around 150 miles east of Seattle. So it finally happened. A lot of people did not think it would happen. Iran was just attacked by Israel. So, what does this mean for trucking? What should you be doing right now as a truck driver? Well, I can't see the future, and I'm not an expert on this subject, so take what I say with a grain of salt. This is my opinion based off of the information I have and my ability to deduce from that information. So, this is in the process of happening. It just started happening like an hour ago. I'm not sure exactly when the attack started, but it started within the last couple of hours, I think. So right now there's just a lot of speculation. There's not a lot of fact. Not People don't really need. They don't know what is really going on. So it's hard to speculate or assume what's going to happen if we don't know what has already happened. So this could be way off. What we think we know right now is Israel has stated that if there is an impasse in the nuclear negotiations with Iran, which Iran is known, like, they have a history of stalling and lying and agreeing to things that they don't abide by. That's how they've gotten this far into their nuclear program. We've like been trying to halt Iran's nuclear development for like decades, and they've just been stalling and lying and trying to kick the can down the road while they keep developing their nuclear program. And Israel has had several red lines that Iran has gone past. And this is reminiscent of the Ukraine-Russia war. Everybody has been putting up these red lines. And people have just gotten so I don't know, complacent, I guess is what I'm thinking of. We haven't had a major war between world powers in, what is it, like 70 years, almost 80 years. We have very few people alive that remember what that's like. And people just don't think that it can escalate to that. They've gotten complacent because it hasn't happened. And these countries keep putting up these red lines, and other countries keep passing them, and nothing happens. So now it's just become normal. If somebody says, if you go past this, we're going to attack you, or we're going to declare war on you, people just don't believe them anymore. Well, Ukraine and Russia put up a whole bunch of red lines, and we just kept crossing them. And Russia eventually, responded. Israel put up a bunch of red lines, and Iran kept going past them, and they eventually, finally today, responded. The final red line was that if the negotiations just hit an impasse, and it didn't look like they were going to be able to reach any kind of agreement, Israel said that they're just going to take them out. They're going to take not take Iran out. They said they're going to take out. I don't want to try to quote them because I don't know exactly what they said they were going to do, but they said they would attack Iran. From what I understand, they were going to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities, which is not going to be easy to do because it's my understanding that Iran has put a lot of their nuclear stuff deep underground to protect it against missile attacks. So Iran has said, because Iran was expecting Israel to attack, Iran said if Israel attacks, they said two things are going to happen. Number one, they said they're going to attack U.S. bases in the region, and that was an effort to push the United States into forcing Israel not to attack, because the United States has a lot of say over what Israel does, because Israel is very dependent on the United States. I don't want to go off on 2 or 3 hours of ranting about how Israel is not as awesome as people think they are. The only reason Israel is, around right now is because of the United States. Like their Iron Dome that they claim is this great technology from Israel is made in the USA. If we stop supplying Israel with missiles for their Iron Dome, then they don't have an Iron Dome. So the United States has a lot of say in what Israel does, because if we stop supporting them, they will collapse. So Iran threatened the United States, saying that they were going to attack bases in the region so that would pressure the United States to pressure Israel. And they told Israel that they would attack them, they would retaliate against them in a similar fashion to what they did previously whenever they sent hundreds of drones and missiles at them, which most people believe that was more of a test of defenses than anything. All of the attacks Iran did against Israel, they were all different, and they seem to be trying to figure out what is going to make it through their defense system and what's not. And Iran figured out how to make it through their defense system. Iran is very capable of putting things through Israel's defense system. Israel's Iron Dome is really good at shooting down homemade rockets. It's not so great at shooting down like modern missiles, and especially ballistic missiles. In Iran's last major attack against Israel, they fired off not a lot. I can't remember the number, but it wasn't a lot of ballistic missiles. But they sent them in a whole bunch of different trajectories, and you could see videos of them coming in. Like one of them came in really high, and there was another one that came in a little more shallow, and then more shallow, and then more shallow. There were 5 or 6 missiles that hit the exact same target, and they all came in at different trajectories. And I think every single one of them hit. So they were testing what trajectory can they shoot down, what's going to confuse their defense system and stuff. So Iran is very well prepared. The thing is that offensive weaponry is way better than defensive weaponry. So if a country wants to attack another country, they can do serious damage. Defensive systems are nowhere near as capable as offensive systems. So Iran, I heard, I haven't done a ton of research on this, but I've heard that Iran said that they were going to retaliate by attacking Israel's nuclear facilities. Now, we'll keep talking about all of this, but I want to stop right there and make one thing very clear. Israel has a very well-known... I'm going to turn this light off. Israel has a very well-known doctrine. It's called the Samson Doctrine. If you are not familiar with the Bible and the story of Samson, Samson is a strong man in the Bible. Incredible strength. I think it was related to his hair or something like that. And there's a story about some woman cutting his hair, and he loses his strength. And then he grows his hair back in secret while he's in prison or something like that. And they bring him into some kind of building, a church or something. And he gets near a couple of the main support structures, and he's regained his strength, and he tears down the building. He brings down the building on himself and all of his enemies and kills everybody. That is Israel's Samson doctrine. If Israel feels like they are going to be destroyed, if they feel like they are going to lose, they have a Samson doctrine, which is basically nuclear launch. They're going to destroy everyone around them. And because all of their enemies are so close, they're also going to die. So it's mutually assured destruction. Israel calls it the Samson doctrine. So now that we have that out of the way, what I'm hearing right now is that the attack on Iran is likely going to last several days. This is not looking like it's your normal tit for tat. Like they, assassinate a general and then they take out an airport. A little tit for tat like that. That's what we're used to between Israel and Iran. It's just a little tit for tat stuff. This does not appear to be the normal tit for tat stuff. Israel has made the statement, I think Netanyahu made the statement, that this attack will take as many days as it takes. This attack is ongoing, and from what they've said so far, this is going to be happening for several days. I've heard that they're not only attacking Iran's nuclear facilities, they're also taking out missile bases. They're taking out Iran's ability to retaliate. So this is like nothing that we've seen in the last few decades. Like, I don't think we've ever seen an attack like this in the Middle East that wasn't the United States overthrowing some third world country. We haven't seen anything like this in the Middle East between Israel and Iran. This isn't like the same as any of the previous attacks. This is a major, major escalation, and we have no idea how Iran will respond. We don't know if Iran already has nuclear missiles, but Iran and Israel are not very far apart. So the idea of either one of them using nuclear missiles is kind of absurd. However, there are small nuclear missiles, and if you detonate a nuclear missile at high altitude, then nuclear fallout is negligible. The stuff that we see in Hollywood movies is not realistic. It is unlikely that if a nuclear missile was used in modern warfare, that it would be a ground explosion, because you can get much more damage if you detonate it high up in the air versus a ground explosion. So the only reason you would really do a ground explosion is if you were trying to hit a target that was buried deep underground. You were trying to hit a hardened target, a specific little hardened target, or if you were intentionally trying to create fallout. So it is possible that nuclear weapons could be used with very little fallout happening. But anyway, take hours if we go into this much detail on everything. So what should we expect as truck drivers from this? Most likely, this is going to, I don't know, this will most likely turn into a full-scale war between Israel and Iran. I don't think Israel or Iran, either one, wants a full-scale war. But it may end up happening. We'll just have to see how this plays out. But right now, fuel prices are likely to explode. Every time there's the tiniest negative information that comes out of the Middle East, which is, the world is very dependent on oil and gas from the Middle East. Anytime the slightest negative news comes out of there, they use it as an excuse to raise fuel prices. You will see, I've just in the last few months, I've seen fuel, well, not like 2 months, the last 6 months, I've seen fuel prices go up by 20 cents a gallon and go down by 20 cents a gallon in a matter of a day or two over news in the Middle East of something that might maybe happen. So we are likely going to see fuel prices go up by easily 50 cents a gallon or $1 a gallon or more within the next few days, depending on how this continues. Like, this just happened. But I think that just on what's happened so far, fuel prices are going to go up by 50 cents a gallon tomorrow at least. So I would recommend topping off fuel right now. The other big thing is that if this turns into a full war, Iran's war strategy... Sorry, somebody's air brakes. I don't know if you could hear that. Not air brakes, but like, yeah, they just set their parking brakes. You know how loud that is? Somebody next to me just did that. So, Iran, part of their strategy for any war, if they get involved in any war in the Middle East, then their strategy, whether it be with Israel or the United States or whoever, their strategy is to block the two straits. I forget what the two straits are called. The Strait of Hormuz and I can't remember the other one. There's one that's right on the border of Iran. The Gulf right there. That is one of the places that they will blockade. And then they're really close allies with Yemen. And Yemen is at another choke point on whatever sea it is that goes through the Suez Canal in Egypt. So Yemen and Iran will work together to blockade those two. And if they blockade those two, they will absolutely shut down the global supply chain. Remember when that freighter got stuck sideways in the Suez Canal and how much chaos that caused to the global supply chain around the world? It'll be a lot worse than that, because they're going to shut down both of those, and there's not going to be a way to get oil out of that area. So it doesn't even matter like what countries are dependent on the Middle East for oil. Like, some countries get their oil from some countries get it from other countries, but this is going to have a cascade effect, a cascade failure around the entire world, because it's going to be such a big disruption. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this goes. We could see fuel prices go up by $5 a gallon or more within a week. Like, we could see massive fuel spikes, and then we could see a major disruption in the flow of goods around the world. Something worse than the lockdowns. A lot worse than the lockdowns. But it will take time for that to happen. So we'll see that freight disruption in a couple weeks or a month after Iran and Yemen block those straits. And if they try to block those straits, that's going to drag the United States in, and they're going to try to defend and open up the passage through those straits. It'll very quickly drag the United States into the war. It could drag other countries into the war. There's a lot of escalation that could happen. But right now, let me pause this and see if there's any updates, because this is happening as we speak. All right, let's flip over to the browser and reject all. So this is supposedly a response that was posted 1 minute ago from Iran's supreme leader. Now, Iran has a theocracy. They have like a religious leader who is the main leader of the country, and then they have like some kind of president or prime minister or something. So they have two leaders of the country, and the religious leader, I'm pretty sure, is the highest leader. So I think this supreme leader is the religious leader. So, Iran's official Islamic Republic News Agency, or IRNA, has published a statement from the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Sorry if I butchered that. The great nation of Iran. The Zionist regime at dawn today opened its dirty and bloody hand to a crime in our beloved country and revealed its evil nature more than ever by striking residential centers. Well, that's the way they're spinning it. The regime must expect severe punishment. The powerful hand of the Islamic Republic's armed forces will not abandon him, God willing. Several commanders and scientists were martyred in the enemy attacks. Their successors and colleagues will immediately resume their duties, God willing. With this crime, the Zionist regime prepared for itself a bitter and painful fate, and it will definitely receive it. Yeah, I don't really know how to, what in the hell does that mean? Usually when somebody's talking a big game, they're not really going to fight very hard. The more somebody talks, the less fight that they have in them. So this is a lot of talk. This is a lot of chest beating. So I'm thinking that maybe Iran might have a limited response. So why am I getting my news from Al Jazeera? Some people probably want to know. I don't normally get my news from Al Jazeera, but the U.S. media, like every country just about has state-run media, and they spin it the way that they want to spin it. So I look at several different places, and information like this doesn't really make it into the U.S. media. UN nuclear watchdog confirms Natanz site targeted in Iran. Rafael Grossi, head of International Atomic Energy Agency, says the UN body is closely monitoring the situation in Iran. Agency can confirm Natanz site among targets. Grossi said in a statement, the agency is in contact with Iranian authorities regarding radiation levels. We are also in contact with our inspectors in the country. Anyway, I'm not trying to report on live news. So let's get back over to this. You can watch what's going on with this from some news source. I would say at a minimum, we're going to see fuel prices go up by 50 cents a gallon within the next couple of days, whether the oil supply is disrupted or not. The oil market is a speculative futures market. Any negative news will affect fuel prices today. So expect 50 cents a gallon within the next couple of days. Price increase. Just for fear of what this could do. And depending on which direction it goes, we could see fuel prices continue going up, or they could come back down. But most likely, there's going to be a fear of what could potentially happen for at least a couple of weeks. Unless Iran retaliates very quickly, and then Iran and Israel both make statements basically saying it's over. So, yeah, unfortunately for me, I'm in a situation where I'm at a place where fuel prices are already absurdly high. I don't know why Oregon, Washington, and maybe California. I haven't been looking at fuel prices in California, but fuel prices in Oregon and Washington are crazy high. They're already like 50 cents a gallon higher than they were a couple months ago. And fuel prices in other parts of the country like Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, fuel prices in those places seem to be about the same. I don't know why Oregon and Washington fuel prices are already like 50 cents a gallon higher than they were a couple months ago. So, short term, we're most likely going to see a spike in fuel prices. Long term, this could be devastating to the global supply chain, which means devastating to the freight market. So just keep an eye on all this. Those are the two main things that we need to worry about with this. Aside from, I'm not going to speculate on, this escalating into a major conflict that the United States can be brought into. But if this just stays a regional conflict between Israel and Iran and maybe a couple other countries in the region, then the two things that we mainly have to worry about are fuel prices and supply chain disruption. And we're just going to have to wait and see how things go. So my recommendation right now, top off fuel and keep an eye out for things. If they shut down the straits, then within a couple of weeks, it's going to have a big impact on the freight market, because all of our technology is based on oil and gas. And if there's oil and gas disruption worldwide, then it will disrupt manufacturing. People will be told not to come into work because they don't have the stuff they need to do their job. People are going to have less money. There's going to be less goods moving around. Like it'll affect everything. So keep an eye out on this. This is major news for the trucking industry. So this is something you need to be paying attention to. And the two things you need to mainly be paying attention to are fuel prices and supply chain disruption for the freight market. So anyway, good luck out there. And hopefully Iran has a minor retaliation and then they both say, okay, we're done. That's best case scenario. But anyway, good luck out there. Bye.